Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to check out some posts from college grad who are out in the real world right now. And yeah, things aren't looking so good. A lot of people went through 4 years of school, racking up student loans, work really super hard, and only to graduate and realize that, finding a job is way harder than anyone made it sound. So let's get into it.
I'm gonna be a little vulnerable on this app right now, so give me a break. I'm alive, but I'm not living. That might sound really morbid to you, but I promise I'll explain. I have been looking for a job since May of 2024, and even before that. And I've made it very, very far with some of these companies. I've done projects for them, like final interview, everything's been going really great. And then people will just ghost you, or, they'll tell you you've been rejected. Back to my thing about being alive and not living. I just feel like I'm missing out on so many experiences because I don't have the money, or I'm not living in the place that I desire to be. And although it's easier said than done, I just can't stop comparing myself to other people. It's or thinking about other things that I could have done and how I could have gone about things. I know myself as a person, and I know that I put in a lot of hard work and I really care about others, but it has me questioning my worth. Maybe I'm not as valuable as I hate crying, hold on. Just a very lonely feeling when I feel like everyone has their life together and I'm trying to get mine together, and I've been really patient and I'm waiting for the right opportunity to fall in my lap. And I mean, I'm trying to put in all the effort that I can, but it comes to a point where it's what more can I do? I feel like it's putting my life on hold to a different extent that I've never had, and I absolutely hate it. I don't know what to do. And I just see the worth in myself, and despite me being really upset right now, it's I just want someone to see it in me. I want someone to also believe in me. I have the skills, I'm not stupid, I love everything that I do, and it's just so hard to not compare yourself to other people. I hope someone else understands, because it's just a horrible feeling.
Yeah, I really feel bad for her. It's tough when you do everything you're supposed to do. You go to school, get the degree, and then the job market just, leaves you hanging. And what make that even worse is that, seeing everyone else on social media looking like they're living the best life, traveling, going out, buying nice things while you're stuck worrying about rent and bill. But, honestly, a lot of people are in the same boat. I feel like she is not behind. The system is just stacked against young people starting out right now. And, comparing yourself is natural, but what you don't see is that half of the people you're comparing yourself to are probably in debt and struggling in the ways you don't see online. I know it sucks, but you are not alone. And then I feel like the best thing she can do now is just stay off social media. Don't check social media, because by doing that you just start comparing yourself with other people. What she should do now is just start focusing on herself, stay off of social media, and just keep applying for a job. Eventually she will find a job. It's probably going to take a long time, but at least apply, right? If you don't apply, you're not gonna get any, but at least apply, maybe 1 or 2 applications per day, and let's start from there. And yeah, I just really feel bad for her, and I hope the best.
I'ma just say it. Being post-grad, not being able to find a job is such a new trend that I hate, but it's our reality. So I graduated with my undergraduate degrees May 2023. I finished my MBA program last month, and throughout this year and some change, I have applied to hundreds of jobs, hundreds of internships, and heard nothing back. And I know everyone says your time is coming, be grateful, I'm grateful I have a job, but listen, when you're not working in your field, it can be very discouraging, number one. And two, it's just kind of you feel like getting those degrees was a waste of time. You feel like you chose the wrong degree, or, it's just really discouraging. And I realized part of it could be the actions that I did not take while I was in school, but I also feel like colleges need to position us better to succeed when we finish their programs.
That's the harsh reality nobody talk about. You graduate with a business degree thinking that it is your ticket to success, maybe making millions of dollars after you graduate. But instead you are now drowning in student loan debt while applying for jobs that barely pay more than Starbucks. And it's wild, right? You put in 4 years, sometime even more, depend on the difficulty of the courses, and spend tens of thousands of dollars on tuition, and the job market was like, cool, here's your $18 an hour. And that's even if you're lucky, right? And honestly, the crazy part is, a lot of business degrees don't even teach you anything practical. It's like, where's the class on how to actually manage money, build a business or dealing with taxes? Instead, you're just getting a whole bunch of theories that doesn't really help you when you're out trying to pay rent. So when you leave the schools with so many debt, no real world skills, and a degree that everybody already has, most people. And that's why so many people are questioning if college even worth it anymore, because the return on investment just isn't there anymore.
All right, I'm like in the middle of getting ready, but I wanted to come on here and be vulnerable about something because this is not really something I've talked about on my TikTok. But I've applied to over 300 jobs with my master's and bachelor's from University of Georgia. I'm still unemployed, you guys. Like, I've applied to over 300 jobs. I can't even get a job as a receptionist. It's really, really like terrible and miserable right now.
The job market is terrible if you apply over 300 applications with both bachelor and a master degree and still nothing. It just show you how broken the job market right now. Most people are out here doing everything right. You go to school, spend years of studying, and you still ending up unemployed after applying over 300 applications. This is crazy.
So I've had interviews with 3 different companies, and one of the jobs like I really, really wanted, and I made it to the final round, and I was like, okay, like I'm gonna get this job, like it's looking good for me, because I interned for a branch of the organization before, and I had an internal recommendation, and also like the tasks I did for my internship were the exact same as this job description. So I was like, it would only make sense, And I also like practiced for the interview for days straight. Like, y'all, I was literally sitting there like days, hours each day, like practicing interview questions, researching like everything about the job description, etc. And they said that they went with someone else like after the final round. And in the rejection, they like told me to apply to a different job for them and told me my resume fit the other job more.
Man, sending out 300 application is one thing, but practicing interview and making it to multiple final rounds and still getting rejected, it is very terrible. It's like she's doing everything right, preparing, showing up and pushing through the process, and this company still won't give her a chance. It just really shows you how unfair the system is. And employer keeps saying that there is a talent shortage, but here's someone with both a bachelor and a master degree putting in the work, and she still can't land a job. And that disconnect is crazy. And the worst part is that the emotional toll, right? You spend weeks preparing for this interview, maybe even get your hopes up after several rounds, and then only to be told no at the end over and over again. That rejection cycle just starts to eating up your confidence. What's wild is that it's not about being unqualified. It's about how competitive and saturated the market is right now. Everyone is fighting for the same handful of roles, and it feels like lucks play a bigger part of that as well. Honestly, it just makes you wonder, like, how are people supposed to build stable career nowadays when even a perfect candidate can't even get through the door? So yeah, this is tough.
Anyways, you guys, like I was just like so heartbroken after that. And I have like, it just sucks, like after college you feel like you did everything right in college. Like I had 2 internships in my field. One of them was like a super amazing internship opportunity, and I did undergrad research, I did graduate research, I went through grad school, I had my tuition paid for. Like I was also like a pharmacy tech for 4 years throughout undergrad, And I don't know. It's like, I don't know what else I could do to like develop my resume anymore. I can't even get a job like not in my field. Like just like working at McDonald's. Like I literally can't even get a job doing that. It's just like after college, you kind of like have this vision like, oh, like, you know, I'm gonna be like living by myself and doing all this. And I'm just like, for me and like other people I know, like it just hasn't been that way. And it's just like, what about the life we were promised, you guys? Like, oh, I'm sorry, y'all. I hate coming on here like with like being like negative and stuff, but it's like I've seriously been struggling, especially mentally, because I just feel like, okay, I did all that for what? I was in school for I graduated my master's a year early, but I'm like, I was in school for 5 years, and for what? For what? Like, I sat there, worked my butt off. I got a 4.0 GPA in grad school and then a 3.96 in undergrad. And I had a job the entire time for both of them. And I worked my butt off. I had no social life. For what? To be unemployed. Like, to get rejected from jobs. Like, I know I'm being negative right now, but, like, you guys, like, seriously, I'm one of those people that thrives off being busy and, like, just not having a schedule. It's, like, really killing me. And also living at home with my parents, it's... I don't know, I'm just posting this, like, maybe someone else can relate to it, I don't know.
So for the next video, this girl have 2 bachelor degrees and she ending up have to work a retail job. And yeah, I find that very interesting, so let's take a look what she have to say.
I work in retail making basically minimum wage, and I have 2 bachelor's degrees, and everybody's like, why in the world do you work retail? Everybody's trying to give me all of this life advice, telling me to go into healthcare, telling me to go into tech, yada, yada, yada. And everybody's like, why in the world do you have 2 degrees and you're not using them? What are your degrees? Like, what's the story there? This is the story of my 2 bachelor degrees that I have that I am currently not really using. I graduated high school in 2014, and when I was in high school, the high school I went to, like, more than 80% of our graduating class went to a 4-year university afterwards, so it was very much pushed to go to college after you graduated. Nobody in my family had ever gone to college before. I was the first one to even graduate high school, so it was like a big deal for me to go to college, and I was super excited.
Yeah, that's really put things into perspective, you know, being the first in your family to even graduate high school and then pushing yourself to college when 80% of your class is going as well. That's a lot of pressure. And honestly, that's a huge accomplishment in itself.
I switched my major so many times, which is a big play in this. Junior year rolls around, I've taken all my gen ed classes, and it's really time for me to figure out what my major is like actually going to be. And at that point, I had taken a lot of anthropology, history, and sociology classes because those were the classes that I just really enjoyed and had some professors that I really enjoyed. So I had already had a lot of credits towards those 3. So I decided to go with sociology as my major, and I minored in history and anthropology. And I mainly decided that just because I wanted to graduate on time. Like, at this point, if I chose a major that wasn't sociology, I was not going to graduate on time, and I was going to have to continue going to school for at least another year and take out even more loans. And I just wanted to be like done with school at this point. I loved the classes that I took and everything that I learned, but I knew the career path wasn't necessarily for me. But at this point, I just wanted to graduate. I graduated with a degree in sociology, and I minored in anthropology and history. I didn't have the opportunity to do an internship or any sort of research while I was getting my degree. I had to work a paying job while I was in school, and there were no like paid opportunities for me. So I wasn't able to get any sort of experience in the field anyways. At that point, I had gotten a better retail job. I was making like double minimum wage in North Carolina. I was doing well, like my own apartment, like I was living with my boyfriend. I had a decently paying job for North Carolina standards in retail. So I was doing like okay. So I was like, let me just take a break. Like, I've been in school for a million years. Let me just take a break and chill for a sec and figure out what I want.
I totally get why she switched majors so many times. You know, college really sell you this idea that you have to pick the perfect path at 18, when in reality, you know, most people don't know what they want yet at that young age, and then you're stuck juggling between what you enjoy versus what you is actually paying the bills. You know, ending up with a sociology, history, and anthropology, I don't think that's a failure at all. And honestly, a lot of people can get trapped in that cycle as well. You know, staying in an extra 1 or 2 years can definitely racking up thousands more in student loan just to chase, you know, a better degree.
I do. 2020 hits, and of course COVID happens. everybody and the mother decided to go back to school. Most people went back and did their master's, but I didn't really want to get my master's in anything like sociology related. So as I was looking into it, I found the program through SNHU, and you can get your degree online. It's fully online. And they had a graphic design with a web development option, which I thought that would be really great. Web development, like everybody says to go into tech, so I thought that'd be a really great idea. I was able to transfer a lot of my gen ed credits from my first degree, so I was going to be able to complete my degree in about a year and a half. What I did, it took me about 2 years instead of a year and a half. So at the very end of 2022 is when I graduated with my bachelor's in graphic design and web development from SNHU. I did it fully online. Before I even graduated, I started doing some freelance work. So I think in January of 2023 is when I got my first bigger freelance client. And so I was doing well with that. I was just going to do freelance. I was applying to more corporate graphic design jobs, but I really wanted to go the freelance route. So that's what I did, and that's what I've been doing. For all of you that are curious, that is the story of my 2 degrees and why I have them and what happened.
It's just sad how the system forces you into those choices. Instead of letting people explore and figure it out, you're basically punished with debt the longer you take. And that's just how so many graduate, ending up with degrees that don't even line up with the job available or the current job that they're working at.
So 60% of last year's college graduates have still not landed an entry-level role.
Yeah, honestly, that's not surprising. When I graduated, which a couple years ago, it took me a long time to land my first entry-level job. And yeah, I can't imagine what the recent graduate experience right now. I'm pretty sure it is much worse based on what I'm seeing online. But yeah, it is really tough right now finding a job after you graduate.
And I get a lot of flack for this, but I graduated in 2008, and it was hard to graduate at that time and find a job. But what you could do, at least at the time, was find a bullshit job. A job that paid you very little, or you worked on tips. A job that you could just find on Craigslist, and you would send your resume, or you wouldn't even send a resume, and you would just email an AOL or Hotmail account and meet up with the person, have a conversation, and if you have some personality, be able to convince them to give you a job. The problem now is that even bullshit jobs are hard to find. Very hard to find. Not only that, it's they've made bullshit jobs very hard to apply for. You have to fill out this crazy application for minimum wage. And, you hear about people all the time on this app that are applying to food service jobs. They're college graduates. They're applying for food service, and they're not even getting a call back. They're applying to minimum wage call centers, and they're not getting a call back.
Yeah, things were still tough back then, but at least you can still stumble, into a job somewhere. There were all of this, so-called BS job, temporary office gig, basic admin roles, retail management training program, job that didn't really pay well, but at least they exist. And honestly, at least they give you, some kind of stepping stone to move forward. But nowadays, even those jobs are disappearing. The one that exists have this insane application process, multiple interview, long assessment, and multiple hoops that you have to jump through just to, for something entry level that barely pay a living wage. And it is wild because people with degree are competing for roles that shouldn't even require one. And they're still, getting turned down for the most part. And the job market seems to be shifting in a way that where even the fallback option are gatekeep. And that just doesn't make sense. And that's what make graduating today so much harder than before.
So you have to understand that the economic environment right now, the jobs market, is much more difficult because one, offshoring has moved a lot of jobs overseas, that a lot of entry-level college graduates would normally get, and now they have zero opportunity to actually get those jobs, go in, hustle, slowly build their career, slowly build their resume. They don't have those opportunities anymore. Plus, because of how AI is going to evolve the workplace, and it will impact the workplace. And the problem is, we are not 100% sure how.
Yeah, that's really another good point. A lot of those jobs that used to be easy to get are now being automated and replaced by AI. Stuff that used to be handled by a junior staff or assistant can now be done by a software. It's like, the safety net of just picking up an okay job while you're figuring it out is getting pulled away. And that just makes it way harder for recent grads to get their foot in, the door in the current job market.
So a lot of companies out there are not hiring people with zero experience. They're just not. They're not, because they think, and they're more right, that entry-level job, those mundane tasks that you used to do to build a good reputation, that you used to tell your boss, oh, let me take that off your plate so you can build this good personal brand. They think those are going to be automated first, and that's what we're seeing. So I have empathy for all these people that did everything right, listened to us, and are really struggling right now post-graduation to find jobs. It is tough. It is much, much more tough. But if I can give you some advice and hope, it's going to get better if you still have hope.
Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for sticking to the end of the video. If you are a recent graduate, please, don't give up. I know it is really tough right now in the current job market, but just hang in there, keep applying, keep your heads up, and eventually you're going to land your first job. And yeah, I'm rooting for you.